My name is Derek Nash. I want to welcome you back to the Post-War Show. Today is January 23rd, 2021. 3 days into this fucking Biden administration that is going to be such a disaster for all of us working class Americans. Where I want to start, and this is going to be a really brief episode today, but where I want to start is with the Georgia runoff. Now, Biden campaigned hard in Georgia, which is a deeply red state, on $2,000 stimulus checks that would go out immediately as his first act of president. He was relentless with it, and without that promise, there is no chance that we would have taken even one, let alone two of those Senate seats. It doesn't happen in Georgia. It's never happened to my knowledge, but I could be wrong. But again, a deeply red state, and already now that he got them elected, he's backpedaling. So we went from 2,000 to 1,400, even though the $600 that he's using to take away from the $2,000 promise, that was already passed before he was campaigning for the Georgia runoff. So let's take a quick look at a video. Just want to show you that, and then we'll get back to me.
To the block in Washington, that $2,000 stimulus check. That money that will go out the door immediately. Tell people who are in real trouble. Think about what it'll mean to your lives. Putting food on the table, paying rent, paying your mortgage, paying down the credit card, paying the phone bill, the gas bill, the electric bill. Just look around. Millions of people in this country out of work through no fault of their own. No fault of their own.
So there you have Biden's promises that, as I said, just persuading people to vote in the Georgia runoff. And now let's take a look at a couple of other sources on where he stands now as sitting president, given that he got the result that he desired.
Kind of a stunning bit of news in yesterday's playbook. This is with Politico. They write that Dems were caught off guard by the fact that they won those races in Georgia, caught flat-footed by total control of Washington. So basically, they really didn't expect to win control of the Senate. They were completely banking on being able to blame like their lack of ability to get anything done on Mitch McConnell and the Republicans having control of the Senate. And the fallout from that is that they really don't have a plan or a strategy with regards to economic relief for COVID. So that's why you've seen yesterday we reported here how now they're like, oh, maybe we'll, even though we said we'll do $2,000 checks immediately, maybe what we really meant was $1,400 checks and sometime in March or whatever we get around to it. That's why you see this sort of like battle and debate over the right way to proceed, whether they should do something smaller and more targeted right away and try to get bipartisan support, whether they should just operate through the budget reconciliation process where you only need to get 51 votes, or whether, which seems to be the direction that they're headed in, which to me is maybe the worst possible direction, they should wait and put together this bigger bill that has zero chance of Republican support and try to get it through regular order, which requires significant Republican support. Unsurprisingly, the only person who seems to actually have a plan, a strategy, and a vision for the situation is Bernie Sanders, who was out with a big op-ed in CNN yesterday, laying out what he thinks should be done through that budget reconciliation process, which again, only requires a bare majority vote. So if you keep all the Democrats together, you can do what you want through budget reconciliation. He lays out here in this op-ed a really long list. Let me just give you the highlights. He wants to do the $2,000 checks, $600 unemployment insurance, state and local aid, 12 weeks of paid leave, universal pre-K, tuition-free college, canceling student debt, and lifting the minimum wage to $15 per hour.
Biden gets what he wants. All that effort, and he gets what he wants. We now have a Democratic majority with a 50-50 senator split on the Republicans and Democrats. Kamala Harris is the tiebreaker. As long as it's within reason of the Democratic establishment, we can use budget reconciliation to ram any legislation through right now. He could do that $2,000 stimulus right now. So let's take a look. what Joe Biden actually did on his first day after inauguration, as opposed to following through with his just adamant promises.
America's back, baby. U.S. military convoy enters northeast Syria, January 21st. Inauguration day. They're back in. U.S. military convoy enters the Northeast. Empire's got to operate through COVID, baby. We can't get a vaccine distributed, but we can still set the world on fire. Isn't that awesome? America is back. Back. A large U.S. military convoy entered northeastern Syria on Thursday. Syrian state news reports citing sources on the ground. There you go. According to the report, the convoy included 40 trucks and armored vehicles and was backed from the air by helicopters. And it entered Syria from Iraq via the Al-Walid crossing to bring arms and logistical equipment to the bases. At the same time, reports that some 200 U.S. troops arrived in the Hasaka province on helicopters. Iraq, Syria, it's like a reunion tour of countries we've bombed. It's nice. According to the report, the troops are set to deploy on the nearby oil fields, with Kurdish-controlled eastern Syria rich in energy resources. We're sending the troops right to the oil fields. In late 2020, then U.S. President Donald Trump ordered U.S. troops withdrawn from that area to redeploy in Iraq. They're being deployed directly onto oil fields, an airy way of reminding people exactly why they're there.
Well, how about that, folks? A big surprise to, I don't know, probably most Biden voters, but sure as shit not a surprise to me. I'm not a Trump guy. I'm totally pro third party. I'm on board with Nick Vrana and the People's Movement. The Movement for a People's Party. But at least Trump was not an establishment guy. At least he was willing to challenge the military-industrial complex. No new wars. And when we tried to get out of Afghanistan and Syria, Iraq, they actually put up legislation that prevented him from doing so. It's amazing to me. I'd rather have Trump than Biden, and I hate them both. But given Trump's anti-establishment nature, I'm scared to death of how many wars we'll be in. I plan to have a video out preceding this with 3 predictions for the Biden administration's first 4 years. Number 1 was going to war with Syria. Number 2, which is also not going to take long to happen, war with Venezuela and the overthrowing of Nicolas Maduro, who was voted in with 77% of the Venezuelan population and replaced by our puppet Guaido. And the third is that Biden will not finish his 4 years. He will bow down, whether it's from cognitive decline, whatever the reason, but Kamala Harris will take the helm. And possibly a fourth is the reintroduction of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is basically like the NPTR, the Normalized Trade Relations Policy with China, and NAFTA combined on steroids, which will even further cripple our minimal manufacturing and production jobs here in class and further gut the middle class. Let's finish this video with Trump's view on the military-industrial complex. I want to thank y'all for watching. I've got a much bigger video coming out here just a day or two. Love you all. Thanks for watching. Keep fighting. Stay awake and talk to people. We need a third party. There's no way within this two-party system we're going to benefit. So please keep an open mind, people, and talk to each other.
And don't kid yourself. You do have a military-industrial complex. They do like war. You know, in Syria with the caliphate, So I wipe out 100% of the caliphate. That doesn't mean you're not going to have these crazy people going around blowing up stores and blowing up things. These are seriously ill people. I don't want to say, oh, they're wiped out, you know, ISIS. But I wiped out 100% of the caliphate. I say, I want to bring our troops back home. The place went crazy. They want to keep, you have people here in Washington, they never want to leave. I say, you know what I'll do? I'll leave a couple of hundred soldiers behind. But if it was up to them, they'd bring thousands of soldiers in. Someday people will explain it.
Well, this is an example.
You do have a group, and they call it the military-industrial complex. They never want to leave. They always want to fight.